Hey, this is Mark Cuban, co-founder of Broadcast.com, the biggest and best company to bring audio and video to the internet. And you're listening to one of the first talk radio shows we ever brought on board. That's one of my buddies, a leader, a visionary, the man behind the internet scene, the Allan Handelman Show. Compelling talk radio that rocks.
Our number to talk to Angus Young and Brian Johnson is 1-800-ROCK TALK. 800-762-5825. Let's go to Jess. You're on with the band, man. Nice to talk to you, Jess.
Yes, first I'd like to say to Alan, I listen to your show all the time, man. It's awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that, Jess.
I can't believe I'm actually getting to talk to AC/DC. Hey, I got a question.
We're talking to the Mafia lady, Linda Melito. She is the real-life model for Camilla Soprano. So the mob at that time had pull with the Selective Service.
Oh, sure. They had pull with everything. Celebrities. I mean, everything. Look at Sam Giancana. Look at Phyllis McGuire. I mean, you know, now all of a sudden, De Niro and Scorsese. I mean, but I'm going to tell you something about De Niro. Don't believe what they write, okay? Just don't. You can believe every word I say.
You were married to the guy. I mean, John Gotti was like coming over.
Gotti was a nothing. Gotti was a punk. Okay, he. I'll be honest. I know of that he killed one guy.
Yeah, you there?
Yes, I am. Gotcha. Good to have you on.
All right, man. Love the show. I love the fact that no matter when I turn on, I never know what I'm going to be listening to that day. I love the variety of your show, man.
Thanks.
You suck me in every night. I love listening to your shows.
It's not a crime to be conservative. It's not a crime to be liberal. You can be whatever you want. It's the misinformation. That's the crime.
That's right. You know, I mean, in the evening, I listen to a little bit of Michael Savage and a little bit of Alan Combs before I go to bed. And that's about as far apart as you could get.
We're talking to John Stossel on how the new show is doing.
And I just have never been much of a talker. When I do your show, I'm always impressed how you can just talk. And you often explain things that I have done better than I do. I think, what? I'm not a big talker. I want to edit everything and script it. I'm not quite comfortable at it. I'm used to editing my pieces and cutting out the boring parts and getting to do it over again if I space out or something. And this idea of live TV and the live audience, I'm struggling.
This is always a dicey subject to talk about because there's always exceptions, and it's easy to say, well, how about, you know, when you're fiddling with your CB radio or something like that. The question is, this time, should there be an outright ban for using your cell phone in your car, unless you're pulled over? That's what the National Transportation Safety Board is suggesting. Michael Harrison is with us. He is the man who is the editor and founder of Talkers Magazine. Do you think some of us on talk radio have added to the problem of anger and division in this country?
You know, that's a big question, and it's not easily answered because it kind of gets into the heart of media theory. I think for the most part, the anger that you hear on talk radio is a reflection of anger.
You know, I actually have made this challenge, and I believe this in my heart. A lot of people think they have these vastly different points of view. I think if I can bring two people together, eyeball to eyeball, and take issue by issue, there's going to be a lot of common ground they don't even know exists.
Well, I guess they need a common enemy.
Yeah, that's right.
There's nothing like a good alien invasion would bring all these warring parties together.
Exactly. I got to admit, this affects me too. I mean, you know, we're addicted to our phones, and come on. Anyway, here's the deal. It's a little different than in the past. The National Transportation Safety Board yesterday, by the way, an independent federal agency responsible for promoting traffic safety and investigating accidents, recommended a ban for all cell phone use, including hands-free devices and wireless devices. This is the first time. So what do you think about this? 866-482-1011. 866-482-1011. This is going to affect talk radio.
The only thing I think the Transportation Department could do about lessening the accidents is lower the speed limit.
Well, Eric, let me comment on a couple things you said. And hang in. I'm going to come back to you. I want your response.
Sure.
Listen, I am going to be, if I say I'm against people playing their music loud, I'm going to be, I'm a hypocrite because I love my music loud. But I make a big distinction between what you're referring to. And here's that distinction. When I listen to music loud, I don't make it loud enough where there's any distortion. And the distortion has an effect on your brain, that thumping sound where the metal in your car is just becomes a speaker in essence, and all the rattling that goes with that. That is totally distracting. I think if you have your music on loud, and, that to me is fine. It's the distortion level. You're absolutely right on that. Dan Aykroyd is with us. What's that story about you doing the TV show for the Sci-Fi Channel and some very strange stuff happened to you?
Nobody has to believe me about the disappearing car. That's fine. Let me. I had left all this UFO stuff behind. A couple of years ago, I'd hit the wall on it. I was past where John Mack was, where we've got to turn it around and make it part of transforming the planet and helping people and positivizing things. John Mack, the great writer of the book Abduction, the Harvard psychiatrist. I know you know him. Killed mysteriously in England there last year.
Right.
Now, I've got a lot of things going on in my life. I got the House of Blues. I brought the Patron tequila line into Canada with John Paul DeJoria, my partner, and we have many enterprises to occupy our time. But I did have this show a few years ago where I interviewed the expert on Sasquatch, Linda Moulton Howe, the cattle mutilation lady, and the day I came to interview Greer and Bassett, the two experts on UFOs, I step outside to have a cigarette. Britney Spears calls me on the phone. She says, I want you to do the SNL that's coming up with me. And I'm looking one way and going, oh, yeah, sure, that'd be nice. And I turn and I see this black Crown Vic with two really tall guys, look like the monsters there. I try to look at the plate. It looks almost pixelated or digitized. I look back a split second to say, sure, that'd be good. I look back again, and that thing is gone. I mean, they did not turn around, do a U-turn. I was at 42nd there, and 8th Avenue, that thing did not turn around, did not go past me. In no way in that split second that I look back in that conversation with her that car could have conventionally gone anyplace else than where it did, and it was gone. It vanished. So 10 minutes after that, I get a call. Bob Weiss, our producer, says forget about interviewing anybody. We've been pulled off the air. It's over. The office is packed up. They're going to take the 20 and analyze and see what to do with it. So that all happened.
Wow.
Coming, all the carolers are singing.
Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. And we are live. It's the Allan Handelman Show with Karen O'Brien, the world's foremost expert on toys, lunchboxes, the value, the history. She's written about it and continues to write about it. It's her passion. LeaveItToKaren.blogspot.com is her site. 866-482-1011 is our number. Lots of tweets coming in at If It Rocks. Here's another toy from the past. We'll find out the value of it.
My brother's testing his Evel Knievel sidecar. Look at it, Joe!
This is the Evel Knievel Stunt and Crash Card.
Alan?
Hey, Steve. We got you.
Hey, how you doing? I really love your show.
Thank you.
Hi, Karen. Aurora in the 70s. Model dinosaurs. I got 3 different series. I have actually modeled dinosaurs. You put them together, they're plastic. They're actually fairly large. Tyrannosaurus Rex that's about 3 feet long, glow-in-the-dark parts. Then I have a Universal classic movie monster series, and then I have endangered species. They all came from the 70s.
And this is stuff that you built. This is stuff you built.
Yeah, the models.
Yeah, models. That's a category I don't think we've ever talked about. Is there value for stuff that you build, or is the value mainly on things that are manufactured?
Actually, model kits, especially those Aurora kits and things from the 60s and 70s, have huge value to collectors. Even ones that are built or partially built now. The most of them that have the highest value are the ones that are not put together, still have their original packaging and stuff. But if you're looking, they released a whole bunch of Star Trek stuff. They released superhero models, knights in shining armor. Aurora was terrific, and there's a lot of value for collectors in those today. Even not great condition, $75 to $85 for a model kit isn't unheard of. And if you're looking at one that's in really great shape, unused, unplayed with, they can be worth more than $300.
Wow, Steve, you have...
Now, what if
Go ahead, Steve.
What if they've been put together and no box?
If it's put together, there's not as much value, so you're looking at less than 100. It depends on the character and how bad someone wants it. But if you're looking at something like a Star Trek or a popular, thing like that, or superheroes, about $100, 75 to 100 is about where you'd find a price
for
there.
each one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think people who are in the category of ugly, facially ugly now, you think they're discriminated against? Well, according to the stats, attractive workers make more money. And if you consider the extra pay that good-looking people represent, this group feels that they're being discriminated against. It's just because they're ugly, they're making less money. And so they are looking for protection. Does this make any sense to you at all? This book is called Beauty Pays, Why Attractive People Are More Successful. It's Dr. Daniel Hammermesh. It makes an interesting point because if you're going to give protection for other groups, and it's true that if you are attractive, you're more likely to be employed, work more productively and profitable, receive substantially more pay, obtain loan approval negotiations in much better terms, and a more handsome and highly educated spouse if you're more attractive. So that's their argument. I want to hear what you have to say.
I love you, Alan. I really like your show, man.
Thanks.
I wouldn't recommend tattoos to provide more options for career opportunities, but it sounds like the professor who did the study maybe looked at studies as opposed to real life experience, and I think I've found that people's performance is the most important thing, and a lot of times I might not take somebody who's very beautiful, as seriously as somebody who maybe applies themselves and shows that more. And, it's a really, I don't know, the discussion to me is more about our competitive advantage as a culture and as a nation, because we're losing that, and talks about, victimizing every little class is just hurtful to our productivity as a whole.
Pat Buchanan has a new book out. It's not the first. He's had 3 or 4 controversial books out. This one called State of Emergency. When you went on the book tour, people at MSNBC seemed happy about it. In fact, most of the people I've read are very upset that you're not there. They're not happy about it at all. They're your friends. What happened?
I am a heretic to the prevailing orthodoxy, which is becoming more and more intolerant. And so they call me all these names that give them the legitimate rights. They say to silence him, shut him up, get him off the air. I've got a lot of friends in front of the camera over there and behind the camera. That's why I don't want to be hostile or caustic. And I liked the 10 years. I enjoyed it, but I'm gone.
Allan Handelman.
Tommy Chong.
Allan Handelman.
Tommy, man, it is so good to have you back on the show. It's been too long.
It's been a long time, and I miss seeing your voice. Allan Handelman!
Is how difficult it was. And what was the most annoying things for you when you were doing the day-to-day filming of the Beverly Hillbillies? What were some of the things that you didn't want to talk about and just aggravated you?
I'm on that screen in perpetuity.
Mm-hmm.
So have a little feeling for me. When I'm doing this, when you guys are gone and all the money is spent, my face is still up there. And if I look like I'm doing it wrong or doing it stupid or doesn't make any sense at all, I'm the one that's going to get the crap for the rest of my life.
Right.
And that was basically my only real bitch with the show. I didn't have any other. I liked the people. I liked the character. The show was fun to do. Had a lot of girls on it. I got to wrestle with Ellie Mae. It was all fun.
Yeah, and the money wasn't too bad for those days. What did they get?
No, the money actually for me was pretty bad.
What did they give you?
Even for those days, it was bad.
What were you getting?
I got $500 a show in the beginning, went up to, oh, God, we were the number 1 show in the country, and I think I got $700 a show.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing stuff.
We had 50 to 60 million viewers. I was getting 500 to, if they got 50, 60 million viewers right now, I'd be getting $1.5 million a show.
I know, and those kind of percentages of audience just will never happen again. Those were the days.
Because in those days it was ABC, CBS, and NBC.
Hi, this is Louis Black. You're listening to Allan Handelman, and you better know that you're listening to Allan Handelman. You're not like listening to something else, because if you think you're listening to something else, you're not. You're listening to Allan Handelman.
I have a little list here I want to share with you, then I want to get your thoughts. Democrats, of course, anything with the word hate, hate radio, community organizer, compromise, and now I think moderates.
Well, moderates is next. I mean, they've run out of things. They brought back socialism, which doesn't even exist.
That's right.
They really,
Yeah.
To call this government socialist or any, it's absurd. Especially, you can't have it. There's no such thing in terms of socialism where the businesses are allowed to put in all the money they possibly can into an election. It just doesn't work that way. It's not the way it is. And if it's just there's 7 socialists left in the country. I mean, it's it's absurd.
I know.
And if you really want to see, and the leadership is dead. And then they were the media. They now, they worry about the liberal media. Fox is. They want. There's a place for them to go. I mean, if you want somebody to tell you what it is that you think, there's a place for you to go. I don't read the New York Times. It's this whole concept of the fact that there's a lack of thought, that you read the New York Times because it kind of reassures you about your position. Well, that ended during the Iraq War when the New York Times basically beat the drum to go there. So, I mean, stop it already.
Mm-hmm.
I read the New York Times to try to find bits and pieces of information because and facts, because they still at least hire people who have resumes.
Sammy Hagar. What can you say about Sammy? There's so many great songs. I mean, it's usually the kind of rock and roll, too, that makes you want to party and celebrate.
Well, pretty much, because I came up through, as you well know, Alan, I came up through the concert circuit rather than the top 40 big-time hit single circuit. The choruses, to me, warrant everyone in the audience putting their arm in the air, standing up and singing with you. I wrote songs directly to my fans and about my life.
Here's what Jay Leno happened to say last night.
Sammy claims in his new book he was once abducted by aliens from another planet. Yeah, sure. Turns out a whole mix-up, just a big mistake. The aliens thought they were getting David Lee Roth. It was a whole thing. And they realized,
what do you think of that?
I think that's pretty funny, and I'll tell you what, but I think the aliens knew who they were getting.
What the hell's going on here?
May God have mercy on us all.
Welcome to the Allan Handelman Show, a variety of fascinating people from the international world of rock and roll to the conversational newsmakers and authors, from the great television and motion picture talents to the country's funniest comedians. And best of all, you can call Allan and his guests toll-free at 1-800-ROCK-TALK. You never really know what's going to be happening, but we guarantee you a show people will be talking about tomorrow. Now, with tonight's show, here's Allan.
Welcome to the Allan Handelman Show. Later on tonight, Metallica, a national exclusive. Got a big show for you tonight. Welcome. This is the weekly gathering of rock listeners who want to hear talk every once in a while. Not your parents' kind of talk show. This is the talk show that rocks. And tonight, a surprise and something we haven't even put on the website. We haven't promoted this. It's something for the regular listeners. Back in 95, 96, 97, we did a lot of shows about the death of Kurt Cobain. Some of the most compelling shows I've ever done in all the years. It's just an amazing amount of information that came out pointing to Courtney Love. And I stopped doing the show, and I'll tell you why later on, but we stopped dealing with the subject by and large. And this week, news is starting to break. If you watched Dateline on Friday night, you saw the people that we're going to be talking to right now on the show. And the latest on Kurt Cobain. Tom Grant was the chief investigator. This is the guy who was there from day one when Courtney couldn't find Kurt.
Hi, this is Angus Young and
Brian Johnson of AC/DC.
Be here Sunday night as we take over the Allan Handelman Show. I can't tell you now what's going to happen, but I'll tell you this. People are going to be buzzing about it on Monday.
Hi, everybody. This is Allan Handelman. It's going to be an AC/DC party with Malcolm, Brian, and Angus.
This ain't your parents' type of talk show. The Allan Handelman Show.
Don't tell your story.
Well, if the devil's called Jack Daniels, yeah, I'm a devil worshiper. Definitely.
All right, I was just curious what their thoughts were about today's alternative music. And, because I was saying earlier, if not for groups like them, rock and roll would be, been completely dead years ago.
Yeah, we kind of touched on that, but maybe, Brian, you want to take that one?
First of all, thanks very much for that, for the nice things you said, mate. It means a lot to Angus and me and the rest of the band, you know, it really does. Because, you know, in the years, in the 80s especially, when Alan was talking about before, through all the soft stuff that was going on, you know, we did stick to our guns, and I suppose that's what rock and roll is all about. I've listened to Angus and Malcolm many times. It's a good time, feeling
rock
good.
And roll was always when I was first started playing rock and roll, it was you know, it was rebellion, and it still is. It stands for that, and no matter what even like nowadays, what they call you know, rebellion or whatever, I call it more like sanitary music, you know.
It's a very safe formula music sometimes, I think.